Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is TVP World. You're watching World News. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and these are the latest headlines. Ukraine's parliament will vote on May 8th to ratify the minerals deal signed with the United States earlier this week. Prime Minister Denys Shmyhal is urging MPs to support the agreement, calling it crucial to protecting Ukraine's statehood. He stressed that the deal would only apply to newly issued extraction licenses.
From the American side, these will be contributions in the form of new monetary or military assistance, for example, providing air defense systems. Ukraine's contribution is 50% of the revenue from new, I emphasize new licenses, for the extraction of oil, gas, and critical minerals. I'd like to stress that income from projects that have already been launched are not included in the fund. This is important in view of budget revenues.
After multiple rounds of negotiations, the United States and Ukraine have finally signed a long-anticipated rare earth deal. Now, despite the absence of formal security guarantees from Washington, miners at the Zaporizhzhia graphite mine says that they hope the agreement will offer some sense of safety, especially as Russian missile strikes continue to threaten the region.
We hope things will get better here, because without the mine, Zaporizhzhia graphite is nothing.
We have American business here in Ukraine. We have American companies. We have American citizens here. Any case, Russians are striking missiles and drones every day. Maybe this deal will open new gates and possibilities for Americans' private companies to be involved in Ukrainian mining business totally. Because Ukrainian mining business is not discovered fully. Of course, Americans' policy is very impulsive and aggressive, of course. But there are no any unsolved problems.
The war is the biggest problem. Look, that's why the investors don't come. That's why we don't have electricity. All the problems are because of the war.
Russian forces have once again attacked the frontline city of Zaporizhzhia, injuring 31 people, including 2 children. 12 people remain hospitalized in various conditions. Cleanup crews are working near the building most heavily damaged in the Shahed drone strikes. The attack also hit 29 apartment buildings, private homes, an industrial facility, and several educational institutions.
More than 120 PVC windows in the main building have been damaged, along with doors, lecture halls, laboratories, and offices. In addition, building number 2 and our automotive facility have also been damaged.
I'm still shaking all over. I just can't calm down. I prayed to God, asked him to make it all stop. I swept everything up, found some plastic sheets. We'd been doing renovations. I patched it up a little, just like that. The first time it was hit was in April, over there, see, near the gas line. And now it's happened again, the 3rd or 4th time they've hit here. This is the room. I lived here for over a year. That's the couch over there on that side. There was also a little nightstand, kind of like a wardrobe. I'm undergoing treatment. My skin is peeling. I applied ointment today. I didn't sleep all night. My blood pressure went up. I had to see the medics. Mostly, I'm just gathering my things. My son gave me his mother-in-law's clothes to wear. My shoes are wet.
Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić says he's ready to accept any EU sanctions for attending a controversial military parade in Moscow. The annual Victory Day parade will take place on May 9th. Our EU correspondent, Angela Skujins, has more.
Despite warnings from the EU High Representative Kaja Kallas that if any leader from an EU aspirant country attends the controversial May 9th military parade in Moscow, that it could risk EU accession, Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić has reiterated his intent to go. Now, that leader told Balkan Press on Thursday that despite these cautions, he will face whatever sanctions and consequences come his way. The reason that this parade is so contentious is that Russian President Vladimir Putin has used it as an opportunity to puff up and pump up his military might last year, telling those Russian troops that they were doing a good job in that country's invasion of Ukraine. As a response to this and that Serbian president's flagged intent that he will go, TVP World asked the European Commission in Brussels on Friday what consequences await Belgrade for this decision.
Our position is well known. No business as usual with Russia. We will not now speculate on possible consequences.
Now, the EU Foreign Policy Chief, Kaja Kallas, said 2 weeks ago that any of those countries that do decide to go would not be taken lightly by the EU, according to a European Commission report into the status of Serbia's accession. That country's problematic relationship with Russia is an issue and flies in the face of the EU's continued support for Ukraine as it battles another year of Russian invasion. But a key thing to look out for is which European leader will go to Moscow on May 9th and which will go to Kyiv. We know that Ukrainian officials are inviting their allies to the capital of the war-torn country as a show of support. So we'll have to wait and see which Brussels representatives go and if Vučić makes the switch. Angela Skujins from Brussels for TVP World.
The Domestic Intelligence Service in Germany has officially labeled the AfD as an extremist organization. The hard-right political party is now classified as a threat to democracy. The AfD came second in February's parliamentary elections. The Office for the Protection of the Constitution says it confirms suspicions that the party is working against Germany's democratic order. According to public broadcaster ARD, an internal report cites violations of core constitutional values, including human rights and the rule of law. The extremist classification allows authorities to monitor the AfD more closely and potentially gather evidence for a ban. Chinese social media giant TikTok has been hit with a massive fine, 530 million euros, for violating the European Union's data privacy laws. Our correspondent Alex Kadir has been following the story and joins us with more.
Well, it's one of the largest fines ever levied by Ireland's Data Protection Commission, the Irish Data Protection Watchdog, enforcing EU law in this matter. I want to read you a section from the statement released by that commission, quite damning stuff against TikTok, saying, as a result of TikTok's failure to undertake the necessary assessments, TikTok did not address the potential access by Chinese authorities to EEA, European Union, personal data under Chinese anti-terrorism, counter-espionage and other laws. That is to say that data transferred to China by TikTok can be, according to this commission, accessed by the Chinese authorities. Now, TikTok rejects the ruling by the commission, rejects the 530 million euro fine and says that it will appeal it. But it is one of the largest fines levied by this commission, a really damning indictment of the lack of care and duty to protect the data of European users by the Chinese social media giant, which in itself is also being investigated by the European Commission, that building behind me, for its participation and alleged participation in manipulating the Romanian election. That investigation was launched back in November 2024, but with the Romanian election looming, comes into sharp focus, as well as this breach of data protection rules as well. It comes in the context, of course, of more investigations, more fines by the European Commission, 500 million euros against Apple, 200 million euros against Meta. That was for breaches of the Digital Markets Act. The goal of that legislation is to reduce the power that these companies have over the market. But clearly, this is a very significant move by this Irish data protection watchdog, supported by European law, putting into sharp focus the role that TikTok has and whether or not it respects European laws. In Brussels, Alex Kadir for TVP World.
As the war in Ukraine continues to take a heavy toll on civilians, animals, both wild and domestic, are often silent victims of Russian attacks. In Kharkiv, a dog terrified by an airstrike leapt into a river and became trapped, unable to scale the steep concrete embankment. Now, rescue teams arrived with a dinghy and managed to safely pull the animal from the water. Kharkiv now remains one of the cities hit by near daily Russian airstrikes. And with that heartwarming footage, we conclude this edition of World News. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.